Hello and welcome back to another Bad Movie review. Joined by none other than your two favourite ghastly, ghoulish, pale white people from Down Under. Reviewing none other than the latest, remake, you could argue remake, Disney's Haunted Mansion. Now, it did come out in the States probably about a month ago, so we have been this delayed, and they usually, we've spoken about this before, they usually do this.
Classic Australia, thank you.
Yeah, they usually do it to try and line up with like holiday season for us, like school holidays. But no, it's obviously, adapted from the original ride at the Disney World, Disneyland theme parks, and then a remake of the early 2000s Haunted Mansion film with Eddie Murphy. But it is directed by Justin Simien, who is the writer and director of a really good TV show actually called Dear White People. So I guess he's obviously been given this, which is his first, major motion picture. But overall, what did you think?
How long does the ride go for? I know, sorry, a bit of a sidetrack.
It's actually, it's a good question. I have been on it, if you're wondering why you asked me that.
Yeah, sorry.
It's kind of like, it's not really a roller coaster. It's kind of one of those...
it's just like an adventure kind of thing,
like you kind of sit on
an experience.
Yeah, it's like an experience thing where you kind of sit through, you walk into the mansion and there's moving images and photo albums and stuff, and then you get on the ride. It's a couple people and you kind of go through the mansion. It's probably a 5-minute ride. It's not super long, but you go through the mansion, the massive rooms, and you see the ghastly ghouls flying around, and there kind of is a little bit of a story, but...
That's kind of cool.
The original one, though, it has a vastly different story to the movie. Vastly different story to this. So, so I guess there's not really a story involved in the ride to some extent. It's obviously just loosely adapted. It's like the Pirates of the Caribbean, that's based on a ride, and then you've got Jungle Cruise, which is based on a ride. So they seem to commonly...
I actually didn't know Pirates of the Caribbean was from a ride.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know this is not relevant to our topic at all.
But anyway.
Anyway, we'll go back to that.
They have been doing this for quite some time.
Well, it's not
fair. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to start straight off the bat here and say I'm unsure what audience this film is for, because I feel like it tried to appeal to a bit of everyone at the same time. Here's like some stuff for parents, here's some stuff for kids, but it might be just on the smidge scary side that it probably wasn't as relevant for kids, maybe young teens, but then I'm not sure it had all the right characteristics to really engage that kind of crowd. So I'm kind of unsure exactly what the audience is on this film, but I enjoyed it. So if the audience is me, then they've done well. Look, for me, there was no real kind of standout points of this film, except that it was just really enjoyable. I thought the acting was good, but not great, but like good to the point of where it really complemented the kind of what they really wanted to do with this film. So I guess maybe that is great acting then if it complements the way the film's shot, directed and written. Some of the shots were really nice in this, and I did like their own, unique take on the story, bring their own elements to it. But the characters were quite enjoyable. They definitely were a lot more humorous than I thought they were going to be, because I wasn't sure which way this film was going to lean, if it was going to go towards like the Eddie Murphy humour or be a little bit more on the horror, and I kind of tried to do a smidge of both. But yeah, look, it was enjoyable, but I actually don't even know where to go with this film. There wasn't really anything massively that stood out for me.
It did everything it needed or wanted to do fine.
Yeah.
But it wasn't
it was par.
Yeah, I'd recommend it to people just purely for like an enjoyable, fun 2 hours at the movie, but it's not like... we said this in our last review of... I can't remember what we saw, to be honest, but we said this in our last review.
Elemental, we couldn't figure out what the audience was.
No. I was more saying like there's a lot more better movies at the cinema to watch than this. So it's kind of, I guess, being cursed by the fact that obviously it was pushed back a month. And if this released a month ago, it probably would have been... Oh, no, you had Barbie, but this is a completely different audience in my opinion. But no, I do agree. It is a bit of an odd one because while it does have comedic elements to it, I do think the comedy is very childish in a sense. Like it's not smartly written. It's just like little one-liners here. And although I did like Owen Wilson as Father Kent, I thought he was the shining light of the film. And Lakeith Stanfield is a great actor. Anyone who's seen Sorry to Bother You, he definitely has the chops to do this. And I thought he was fine. I thought everyone was fine, really.
Yeah,
Danny DeVito. Owen Wilson and Danny DeVito were kind of highlights, but that was mostly because of their comment. Like they've got great comedic timing, and that's why it worked.
Do you agree with me with the audience?
Yeah,
How do you feel about that?
It's probably too scary for like young kids, but then the comedy and it's not scary enough for adolescent teenage. Like
No.
it is kind of a weird one. And when you look at it, and they've put I think 140 billion. Imagine 140 million into the budget. It is an odd decision in my opinion.
Yeah, feels a little lackluster at times.
Because I feel like either they should have went for the more horror elements.
Yep.
If they really wanted to target teens, but then their biggest marketing employee, like their biggest audience for any Disney film for that matter is obviously kids.
Correct.
Now you've obviously got they do the MCU, but that's got that Marvel tagline, and they're obviously more for mature people. But as soon as it's called Disney's Haunted Mansion, people are going to think, and no, it's based on a ride where the ride is not necessarily that scary, but you can have like kids go on it. It's kind of up in the air. But look, to be fair, I thought the film was fine. Like the director, I don't know if there's much, like there could have potentially been studio interference. Maybe he wrote, because originally Guillermo del Toro was attached to this. So he's done obviously the animated Pinocchio and Pan's Labyrinth, and does really messed up like films while catering to those kind of audiences. Like Pinocchio, I wouldn't necessarily say that's a kid, but they didn't try and be.
No.
Tried to be more for the, film auteur. And,
correct.
But I thought the director did a fine job. There was certain moments where he kind of had time to shine, where there was, hallucinating scenes and things like that, where there were cool camera techniques. And I thought the production design was really good. Yeah. Like the design of, the mansion, the production. The visual effects at times were a bit iffy.
I feel like it was kind of supposed to be.
I feel like it was kind of supposed to be. It's not, as I said, that comes down to, in my interpretation, the audience thing, because they're not trying to make, I don't think they're trying to make the ghosts horrifying.
No.
And they never did in, I guess, the 2003 film, but it just kind of is kind of sitting in this limbo zone where it doesn't want to commit too much to the horror elements. But it doesn't not work.
No,
It just, I don't know where it's falling, because it's not, I didn't jump once. It wasn't scary whatsoever to me. And I did laugh at times, but it wasn't like watching, Banshees of Inisherin, where it's peak, like just comedy that you, like smartly written comedy. It's just these kind of silly, dumb jokes. But I thought the film overall was fine. I enjoyed it. I would recommend it to a few people here and there that just want a dumb time. Like it kind of, is a bit in this limbo period, and kind of like where the release period is for Australia. We're in the limbo period because it's already, I think, bombed in America, and I don't know how it'll do here. Especially when you've got, the animated TMNT film coming out in a couple of weeks. So
it's pretty hot.
You've got kind of a few kids film options at the moment. But
at least coming out.
No, like I thought the cast were fine. Everything was just fine. There wasn't any, you look at Pirates of the Caribbean, it's based on a ride, but you have one of the greatest character performances of all time in Captain Jack Sparrow, and great production set pieces, and it was going for that mature audience. And you've got even Jungle Cruise, I thought, had that good story and heart to it.
Yep.
Whereas this kind of tonally was a little bit choppy for me. Although I must admit, I did think it hammered home on some really good points and themes, like dealing with grief and family, and like the I guess the longing to belong and long to feel loved and things like that. It did go into those themes sort of towards the end, but I thought the film really could have been quite a lot stronger if it actually stuck with them the whole way through. Like it kind of conveniently had it towards the start of the film and then brought it up at the end. Like it wasn't a constant reoccurring thing.
I agree, yeah.
And that kind of comes into what I was saying earlier, is tonally it's a bit choppy, because you've got these really and they were emotional, they were emotional scenes dealing with grief and loss, and then you have these jokes made, and then you go to a scare, and it is
It had some weird direction at time, especially when it came to that tonal side of things.
Yeah, and I don't know whether, as I said, that potentially might be a studio interference side of things, because I know obviously when you're dealing with the biggest company in, I guess, in movies at the moment, and when you've got that much money, you probably have a little bit of, direction. Because if you've watched Dear White People, it's a very mature TV show that is comedic, but it is great. It's not horror whatsoever. So obviously when the remake has been in kind of development hell for quite a while, and you've got Guillermo del Toro to attach, and then you've got him come up and do it. I have a feeling there potentially might have been some studio interference, but no, look, I had a decent time. I did laugh and I was getting in the feels at times. So I did that very well. It was able to evoke emotion. So
yeah,
I got to give it props there, but
unsure who to recommend to.
Yeah, tonally a little bit choppy, and I'm not sure if I can recommend it to many people. If you enjoy these, well, I could probably, if you enjoy these type of films that are fine, enjoyable, like Jungle Cruise, even though I enjoyed Jungle Cruise probably a little bit more than this, it's a similar thing. It's just it's just a decent time.
Just a good time.
It's a theme park. It's an amusement. Yeah. You have a decent time. You get off it. Would I ride it again? I don't know. But if you like the movie, or if you have seen it, which you probably have, you may not be watching it at this time though. Let us know what you think below. Other than that, we'll catch you next time.
Thanks, guys.